The day my father retired, my parents hosted a huge family celebration. Relatives filled the house. Neighbors arrived with gifts. Everyone expected my older brother, Ethan, to become the new owner of our family construction company. He had always been the favorite. Growing up, Ethan received every opportunity. The newest car. The best education. The biggest bedroom. Whenever I worked twice as hard, my parents called it my responsibility. Whenever Ethan made a mistake, they called it experience. I stopped expecting fairness years ago. At the party, my father stood proudly and raised a glass. I'm happy to announce that Ethan will now lead Carter Construction. The room exploded with applause. Then my mother smiled at me. As for Hannah, she laughed softly. You've always been too quiet for business. Several relatives chuckled. I smiled politely and walked outside before anyone noticed the tears in my eyes. The next morning, I packed my bags and left town. No arguments. No goodbye. Only silence. For 3 years, I built a new life in another city. I worked as a junior project manager for a small engineering company. I studied every night. I earned promotions one after another. Eventually, I became the company's youngest operations director. Meanwhile, I rarely heard from my family. Until one rainy afternoon. An unfamiliar number appeared on my phone. Your father collapsed during a board meeting, the caller said. He asked for you. I returned home immediately. The hospital room felt strangely quiet. For the first time in years, my father looked fragile. He reached into a drawer beside his bed and handed me a sealed envelope. I should have given you this long ago. Before I could ask anything, he closed his eyes and whispered, "Read it, after I'm gone." 2 days later, my father passed away. During the funeral, Ethan acted like the perfect son. He welcomed guests. He gave emotional speeches. Everyone praised him. That evening, I finally opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Hannah, if you're reading this, then I waited too long to fix my biggest mistake. I believed giving Ethan everything would make him stronger. Instead, it made him dependent. I gave you very little, because I knew you would build your own future. Now I need you to save what remains of ours. Attached to the letter was a legal document. It gave me temporary authority to review every company account before ownership officially transferred. The next morning, I visited the office. Employees looked surprised to see me. One accountant quietly asked me to follow him. He locked the door. Then he placed several financial reports on the table. My heart nearly stopped. Millions of dollars were missing. Fake invoices. Hidden loans. Unauthorized purchases. For nearly 2 years, Ethan had secretly drained company funds to support his luxury lifestyle. Sports cars. Private vacations. Expensive parties. He thought nobody would ever notice. That afternoon, I called an emergency board meeting. Ethan laughed when he saw me sitting at the head of the conference table. "What are you doing here?" Instead of answering, I slid the financial reports across the table. His smile slowly disappeared. The directors read every page in complete silence. Then one elderly board member spoke. "We're voting today." Within minutes, Ethan was removed as CEO. Security collected his company phone and access cards before he could leave the room. He stared at me in disbelief. "You planned this?" I calmly shook my head. "No. You did." Weeks later, investigators recovered most of the stolen assets. Several luxury purchases were sold to repay company debts. The business survived. But only barely. The board offered me the position of permanent CEO. I accepted on one condition. No employee would ever be promoted because of family connections again. Only talent. Only honesty. Only hard work. The policy changed the company forever. Years later, young employees often asked why the company treated everyone equally. I would simply point toward a framed letter hanging in my office. My father's final words reminded me every day that favoritism doesn't build strong families. It destroys them. As for Ethan, he eventually found a regular job far from the luxury life he once loved. For the first time, he earned every paycheck through honest work. My mother once apologized with tears in her eyes. "I wish we had treated you differently." I smiled gently. "You still can. Because revenge isn't watching people lose everything. It's refusing to become the person who hurt you." The company my father almost lost became stronger than ever. Not because it stayed in the family, but because, at last, it was built on fairness instead of favoritism.